and therefore worked on many coding languages like Python, Go, Node.js, and custom parsing language. He has also expertise in machine learning, software, and application engineering. Apart from that, he is an architect and has many building solutions in experience. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, first of all, thanks to you for inviting me for this session. And I am pass out from Deen Dayal Upadhaya College, Mathematical Science, 2013 batch. And then, I will just briefly tell you about my journey. So, how it all started. So, after when we were in the third year, so everyone decides with what to pursue going forward. So I was always very keen and interested in basically computer science, a bit of mathematics. So these were some things that were that interest me a lot. So that's why I decided to go with MCA going ahead, and there were multiple options. So I did it from Jim's Rohini, IP University, and some of my friends also went for MBA, and some went for Masters in Operations Research. Then they also did MPhil, and they're pursuing PhD in OR. So there is always a combination. There is no clear path for you. So if I am telling you something, that is purely my experience. So if you have interest, you have similar kind of interest as I was having, so you can also pursue for that path. So this is something that I would like to tell about myself. So I believe that this will be an interactive session. It is not a one-way session. So I'm not here to just bore you people with the slides and everything. So you have I'm all yours for next few hours. So you can basically ask your questions if you have any kind of basically doubt regarding what happens in the industry, how you can crack different jobs, what can be the path going ahead. So you can ask me from that. So I've also prepared a slide that if you have any questions from that slide also, you can also ask. So the slide is basically on what are the different career opportunities that we have in the computer science industry right now. So if you allow me, I can start up with the slide.
Okay, so before that,
Yeah.
we would like to know about you. How have you been in the past few months?
Yeah. So basically, the pandemic has not treated very well to my family, but yeah, things are working. We are coping up, and things are pretty good now. So things are fine, and I hope everyone else is also doing fine. So colleges are closed, so I don't know how or what's the status of the online education right now. So how you guys are coping up with the education system? But one thing you all must be missing is the college. That is for sure.
Yes, sir.
There are a lot of memories with the DDUC.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was great to learn about you, sir. So now we can proceed. The platform is all yours now, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Just give me a thumbs up if you are able to see my screen. I hope it's visible now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And one more thing, sir. If anybody has any questions regarding the slide or anything, for now, please drop them in the chat box. You can ask through voice at the end of the session, but in between, if you want to ask anything, please drop in the message drop section.
Yeah, sure. So, Anvi, I'm not able to see the chat box right now. So, what you can do is you can just if there are any questions, so you can just stop me and I will answer those questions, right?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay. So, first thing, when I was in college, so this is all my experience. So when I was in college, so I was not aware of what is happening in the industry. So what is basically a IT job? Because in the college we are just writing some programs, plus minus, and file handling, object orientation, databases. So we are not aware of what is the actual use of all these things. So how I will be like using these things in the industry if I am in IT profession. So some of the myths that many people have is like, some people think that we are just like, we work like hackers, or we are very dumb people who just sit in front of screens for long hours, or like some of them say like we are just like hitting the keyboard and just basically typing something. There is a terminal black color screen on which we are typing and typing. So these are some of the myths that we have in we have for an IT professional. So basically what actually is IT? So we read concepts like classes and objects, we study languages, we study databases. So everything is associated with what you do in your job basically. So if we talk about classes and design, so basically it is most important part when you are designing a system. So if you have a problem, so what is basically problem solving? So an IT professional basically he is a problem solver. How? Basically we will identify the problems that are there, which we can automate using our skills. So what are our skills? So we are basically we know how we can automate and make computer do the stuff that is basically a monotonous job for any person that is like doing it manually. So some of the examples are, so you can see that like nowadays most of you might be knowing about fast tags. So FASTag is a technology that will help you to automatically deduct your basically toll taxes. So earlier there were like toll booths, and there was a person sitting there who was responsible for cutting all these toll taxes. So currently, by the use of technology, we are able to do it basically without any human in between. So how it helps? First of all, the human error is basically, the human part or human error is basically removed from the problem entirely. And the speed of execution, all those things, the dependency on human beings, it is basically reduced. So some people think that it is against the fact that IT will take up many jobs. So it is always about, you have to keep yourself updated. Okay, if you are updating yourself with the technology with time, you will never lose your job. So IT will never be able to lose your jobs. Okay, so in a broader perspective, so there is a problem that a IT person is solving. So the problem can be as simple as creating a website. So if you don't have a website, any business is not having a website, so that's a problem for that business. And how you are solving that problem? By providing a solution. And solution is, you are providing a website or a web application altogether, which is basically all those things. So if you talk about Amazon, Flipkart, all these are web applications only. So you are providing the solution in the form of different softwares, and these all things, they come under this particular bucket of softwares and web solutions. Okay, so this is basically your job. So you are like, these are all some things that we see in the movies and everything. So things are not like this. So the profession is very chilling. So you have a lot of work, but yes, so on the same time you enjoy a lot. So companies do their best to make to provide a good working environment to all the professionals. And IT segment, as of now, IT the complete IT sector, it is in boom. So if you have heard about Bharat Pay, company Bharat Pay, so they are even offering BMW bikes to the people who are joining them. So these kind of perks you can get, and like in very less time you can grow many folds. So there is no limit on your growth when you are in IT. It all depends on your skills. Your experience is irrelevant. So there can be a person with 10 years of experience earning nearly half the amount a 2 or 3 year experienced person is getting. So there is no relevance of experience. It all matters. The one thing that matters is your skills. Okay. So if we classify the IT industry, so IT industry is not just like coding. It is divided into many parts, and I have also skipped some of the parts. So the security part and all those things, I have missed those things. So if we talk about these things, so first is the software engineering. So that the thing I was talking about. So who is a software engineer? So an engineer is basically a person. When you join in a company, you join as intern or associate engineer. So you take help of your senior engineers, and what you are responsible for, you are solely responsible for writing code. So you cannot take many big decisions like how we can design this system, what can be the classes, what can be the database tables, all those things. But yes, you will be interacting, you will be like taking help of your seniors to make these decisions. So basically, the authority will be less, but yes, you can totally give your inputs in this thing. Okay. So this is one part. So you join as intern or ASC, associate engineer. Then when you move up the ladder, you are responsible for the complete system design, problem solving. So you interact with the client, and client has a problem. So you provide solution to that problem. So that is basically a job, or a whole, like if we talk about broad level job. So a software engineer is responsible for collecting the requirements and delivering the product, and everything comes in between is the job of a software engineer. Okay. So once you create a software, so there is one more field, that is QA engineer. QA engineer is basically quality assurance engineer. So what, like, you have created a product, but this product has to be tested for its quality and the use cases that it was built for. So basically, if you have created a car, so it has to be tested that if like it works properly, headlights are working properly, all the gears are working properly, and all the like electricals and all the other things are working properly. So a job of QA engineer is to test the product that is developed by a software engineer. So there are many tools that a QA engineer needs, and they also create their own tools to test the product. But the job is confined to, they have to test what a software engineer is building. So they are QA engineers, are also software engineer, in the sense that they come from the IT background only. It is just a distinction made on the basis of the task they perform. Okay, so all these people, they are directly or indirectly, they are from the IT background only. So there is no such thing that a QA engineer is coming from some other basically course, or some other background. So all these things, they come under like some IT background field, but there is distinction on the basis of task that they perform, and you can pick something that is of your interest. So if your core interest lies in, like, you like coding, and you can sit in front of screen and you can code all day long, you can you can think of different classes, designs, and different components like queues, databases, all those things. You are very curious to know about all those things. So you can like choose software engineer as a career path. But if you are choosing a software like software engineer as a career path, be ready for lifelong learning. So because, like, every now and then the technology keeps on changing, and you have to keep yourself updated with the new trends. So that is why I was saying that experience is not like relevant in IT field. So you can get as much money, as much package as you want. So basically, why I'm very I'm very alienated towards money and packages and all those things. Why? Because like, money is something that we work for. So a good job, a good basically job can be something that gives us happiness, but at the end, you, me, everyone is working for money. So if you are getting good money, so that will add up to your happiness. This is something I personally believe. So the third part is DevOps. So what is like the role of DevOps? So basically, let's take a simple example. So you purchase a RO water purifier. Okay, so RO water purifier is a product. Some people might have tested it when it was like created or it was invented. So they tested it that it is working fine. Now someone buys that product. So like, if I as a customer, I'm buying that product, so I cannot install the complete system at on my own. Okay, so I need some help to get the installation done and everything. So for that purpose, I will be requiring a person who will be basically very whose specialty will be like installing that system. So DevOps is like those kind of people. So you create a software, and that software is tested by QA engineer, And for that software to work properly or deployed properly, you need DevOps. So DevOps people, they are responsible for deploying your servers. So they will be, most of the time they will not be writing much of code, but they will be deploying your code. So you have written basically a C++ program. Okay, so this program has to be tested and work. I am getting echo of my voice. Is anyone also getting the same?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir, it is now solved.
Okay. So basically a DevOps person, so you have written a C++ code as a software engineer, then QA will test your code, and it should match all the scenarios for which you have written that code. Let's say we have created a program for calculator. So QA will test that it is performing all the calculations correctly. And then how will everyone in the college use your code? So a DevOps will deploy your code over some website, and from that website, everyone else will be able to use that code. So a DevOps is basically like a team. It is not like they are not people. So these are individually all teams. So DevOps is a team of software engineers who is responsible for deploying the code. So if you are someone who is not very much interested in coding, so there are people who like IT, but they don't like basically coding. So who don't like coding very much, but yeah, they have interest in knowing about servers and all those things. So you can choose this field. Then there is a field of like, I will skip this analyst and scientist. I will come to these things after a DBA. So DBA is database admins. So these are specialized now. Like software engineering is a generalized field. QA, DevOps, DBA. So these are specializations. So DBA is database admin. So if you are very much interested in like databases and how the data is handled, so there are like you cannot count the databases by yourself. So if you there are a lot of databases in the market that you cannot count them. So if like there is one new database that is created every now and then. So earlier we used to listen about relational databases. So now there is relational and non-relational databases. There are time series databases. So basically queue systems. So there are a lot of things that you will have to learn about the databases when you work as DBA. And then you specialize in how to deploy and optimize a database. So let's say one thing. What if you search something on Amazon and it is taking a lot of time? So everything that you search, it is stored somewhere, and industry standard is that you will store something in the databases. So you will not save anything in the file system, because the only reason is file system is slow to read. Okay, so you will save something in the database. And what if the thing that you have searched, it is taking like 3 seconds or 10 seconds to show you the results or to load? So this is basically, you will not look out for that product. You will just close the app. You will go to some other app. So the task of DBA is this critical. So how we can optimize our queries that we are firing on the databases, and what are the query plans that are created? What are the type of indexes that I can create? If this database is optimal for my usage or not, or should I use some other database? So all these kind of decisions, they are taken by database admins. So it is not the initial level job. So you cannot directly join as a DBA until unless you have some expertise in that field. So for that, what you can do is basically you can do some courses online, or you can join as an intern in a company, and then gradually you can move to that level. So that can be a path for you. And now, keeping all these things aside, so one thing that I missed was the security field. So nowadays, security field is also very important. Why? Because you have seen that there are a lot of attacks that keep on happening in like on different websites, and people are demanding for ransom in the form of Bitcoin and everything. So these things are very common nowadays. And so if there are hackers who try to hack your system, so there is a profession called as ethical hackers. So ethical hacking, what it is? Ethical hacking is you work for a company and you find the vulnerabilities in their product. So basically you are a hacker, but you are working with the company rather than against it. Okay, so this is basically ethical hacking, and then security has other aspects also. So you can be someone who is implementing the security procedures in your company. You are basically monitoring those procedures, or any kind of threat is happening in the company, any kind of attack that is happening on your product or servers. So you can also be the part of that monitoring team. You can be part of that ethical hacking team, and there are many other smaller teams like this in the security domain. So now, so the other part, that is the most talked about part, that is the data part. Okay, so there are many. So I have classified into three fields, but there are enormous roles with like more or less the responsibilities are same, but we can broadly define this thing into three parts. So first is data scientist. So who is a data scientist? So data scientist is someone who is making sense of the data that a company has. Why it is important? Because if we want to calculate that how long will a customer retained in a company. So just to take an example of this particular problem. So there are premium subscription to Ghana.com or Spotify or YouTube. So there are premium subscriptions to everything. So if you want to calculate that, if a person who has joined me, what is the probability that this person will be with me or he will buy the premium plan next time? So if I have purchased a plan for 3 months, what is the probability that I will basically renew my subscription after 3 months? So if I want this answer, so I will have some data of the similar kind of users. If I who have purchased plans so by similar kind of users, what is the meaning of this? So if my age is, let's say, 28 and I'm an IT professional, okay, and I live in some part of Delhi, my basically earning is in some bracket range, and there is some another person who is also satisfying the same criteria. So there is a chance that we both will be acting in a similar fashion. So that is how this basically affinity data is calculated. Okay, so if the company wants these kind of answers, so they need some data, but they cannot do it by themselves. So how will they find that these two people are same? So the example that I gave, it is very simple example. There can be like close to 100, 150 data points on the basis of which you make this decision. So if you make this decision by just looking at the data, it will be nearly impossible to do that. So that is why you need data scientists. So they use some machine learning techniques, either supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised. So all these are machine learning techniques. So they use some of those techniques. They create clusters of those groups, and then they can give you the answer. The prime difference between data analyst and scientist is, so a scientist, so there is a very thin line. So most of the companies, if you like see the roles and responsibilities, so you will find that these two things are close to, like, you can put a equal to sign in between. But in some companies, so you will be seeing that most of the IT people, they are assigned the jobs of data scientist, and MBAs are assigned the roles of data analyst. So for data analyst, the data volumes can be a bit low. So there cannot be 100 to 150 data points. So that is one thing. And the second thing is, basically a data analyst might not use all those machine learning or advanced machine learning techniques in their day-to-day job, but a data scientist will do this. Okay, so this is a very fine line between data analysts and scientists. But if you see the job descriptions of many companies, so they will be close to same. So there can be a company who is offering you a role of data analyst, and the job description is exactly same as the other company who is offering you a role of data scientist. Okay, and the third part here is data engineers. So now it is again a specialization. So data scientists or analysts, they are basically they are specialized in like creating sense of that data, but they don't have specialization in how that data will reach to that data scientist, or how data will be stored in a way that it is easy to query. So let's say if we talk about some volume of data on which a data scientist works, so there can be basically millions of rows on which using those rows, 1 million rows, a data scientist has to create like one machine learning model, which is basically telling this probability of user like buying that product again or not. There can be over million rows. So a data scientist cannot basically, for that model to work in an efficient way, that data has to be present, or like that data, the excess time of that data it has to be low. So the data scientist will not bother about what is the excess time or what is like basically how the data is stored, but a data engineer will be responsible for all those things. So data engineer will be getting some data. So data engineer is responsible for using that data and then saving that data in such a way that it can be accessed in a very short time, and it can be like the data is not redundant, or if the redundancy is there, so it is like it has to be in a form that it is not basically getting corrupted. So if I'm updating one column, so you must have read about it in the database chapters of your course curriculum also. So you have to remove all those anomalies from the data, and at times you have to like derive some kind of data, like from the date of birth you derive age. So there can be many other data points also which you have to derive. So all these things come under the job of a data engineer. So data engineer, it is a mix of coding plus some machine learning, basic knowledge of machine learning, and then it is basically big data. You are able to like work on the Hadoop, Apache Spark. You have to create data pipelines and all those things. And data scientist, as a data scientist, you will be responsible for using that data. So that data will be readily available to you, and then you are making sense of that data using basically your machine learning techniques. So for data scientists and analysts, you need some language. So some language, I mean, so currently most of them are using either Python or R to create the models. And basically once you create that model, so if I say Python or R, so that means that you need Python or R, you need a coding language, you should know that. And then you have to like learn about machine learning and machine learning techniques. And it is a very uh, like bright field, I will say. And it is also very lucrative. It looks lucrative, but it is very difficult for freshers to like dig down into this field, so without any projects. So what is the value here? So if you want to go into data analyst or data scientist domain, so you will have to basically create some of the real life projects that you have that is solving some kind of problem. So basically if I talk about some of the projects that I have encountered, so people have created like they have used object detection to detect the number plates and then identify the basically the country or city of the car or any vehicle that is being captured in the photo. And then they can also identify the different characteristics like seat belts and basically helmets in the bikes. So all those things, and then they can generate challans on that. So this was something that I interviewed a person who was working on this thing. And I like currently this whole thing is implemented in Delhi. If we talk about Delhi, so you are getting automated challans. There is like the number of people who are required to manage the traffic, they are less now. So all those things come under this thing. So I think
Okay.
this
ये
was a
मुझे
long discussion.
यूज
Any
नहीं किया हूँ,
question?
ये चीज कभी काम आई तो करेंगे.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt you, sir, in between. Would you like to ask something from the audience to make it a bit more interactive?
Yeah, sure. So, do you have any? So, I have explained a lot. So, do you have any specific question that is out of this slide? So, you are interested in some particular domain that is not in this slide that I can basically talk about or tell you about, like how that field acts in the industry.
Oh, yes,
Sir,
sir.
please tell about DSA as well as development, how they both are interrelated in terms of getting a job in industry in a good like
Yeah,
product-based company.
that I will cover in the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, about the jobs and how you can prepare for off-campus
Yes,
placement.
sir. Basically for product-based companies.
Yeah, I will cover that.
Okay, and Hamza has also a question. So Hamza, you can ask.
Yes, it's regarding quantum computing, so even that is a growing field.
So,
So if you can,
quantum computing is obviously a growing field, but you will not find too many jobs in that domain. So that comes under the domain of R&D, and you will find very less companies who are working on these things. And if you are really good in that, then only you will be like getting a chance. Any other
Okay.
question?
Okay, so anybody else would like to ask something about the classification?
Video game developer.
Yeah, game development is definitely a field. So there are very less companies who are working on game development. So like I also got interviewed in one of the company that was creating casino games. So if we also talk about Dream 11, and there are very upcoming. So this market was not too much like dominant in the past, but in the recent times this market is also booming. So game development is something that is in the booming field right now, and there is another domain called as game testers. So game testers are people not specifically from the IT field, but they are their job is to test the games or video games or PS games that are developed by the engineers. So for the game development also, you need you need knowledge of 3D graphics, and then coding is something that you will be needing. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. For game development, one more thing. So for all these fields in which there are very less companies, so the basically the breaking point can be that you create something first. Like in the software engineering, what we do, we don't generally people don't have very good projects in their resume, and that is why they land up in an average job. But these are the game development, game testing, basically quantum computing. In all these fields, these are specialized fields. So if you are not having something in your resume, you will not get a job. You have to convince the company that you are actually interested in this thing. And what is the best way? So if I'm interested in IT, or I'm interested, like if I say that I'm interested in reading books, so what will be the expectation from from me, that I have read many books? That is why I'm saying that I'm interested in books. Okay, so you, if you are saying that you are interested in these fields, so you should have something related to these fields in your resume. And by this, I don't mean that you do some kind of course on basically any online platform, or then you put that course in your resume. That is of no use if you don't have any practical knowledge. So the more practical you do, the more beneficial it will be for you. Any other question?
Okay, so we have another question.
Hmm.
There is Vishal. He is from Maths Honors and he wants to start his career in penetration testing and vulnerability analysis.
Hmm.
He has done different courses from different platforms, and still he is not satisfied because he is not getting any practical knowledge. So how should he learn, or how should he start this
So if
as a
you want
career?
to, if you are interested in all those things, have you ever tried bug bounty programs? So what is bug bounty program? So basically, every company has this program, and once you find vulnerability in any of their websites or any of their product, so you can tell them about that vulnerability, and then they will be paying you for that. So the best way, so if you have that theoretical knowledge, so the best way to get the practical knowledge is to try it out. Just try on different websites. The websites can be big enough. So recently I was looking at some of the posts on LinkedIn, and people have they have found vulnerabilities in Microsoft and Amazon, the websites like these, and they pay very handsome amount to you. So $30,000, $25,000 for like some critical vulnerabilities. So the best way is to try it out, and just go. The complete internet is yours. No one is stopping you to get the practical knowledge.
Okay, so Vishal, is that clear?
It answers your question.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we can proceed, sir.
Can proceed.
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to ask one question. So there was one question that came from the audience. Product-based company. So what is a product-based company? Can anyone tell me about that? No, no one. So the one who asked this question, at least they should tell me about it.
So product-based companies would be like Google or Amazon that launches their own products in the market, sort of that.
Uh, okay. Urban Clap. Will it be a product-based or service-based? The second basically the counter of product-based is service-based. So is Urban Clap a product-based or service-based company?
So I guess it would be service-based.
Okay. So there is thanks for the answer. Let me give you more insights on that. So a product-based company is a company who is like the company is creating their own products. Okay, so this answer was right. A service-based company is a company who is taking contracts from the outside, like other companies, and then they are creating products for those companies. Okay, so if you talk about Urban Clap as a software engineer, Urban Clap is a product-based company because the product is their app. The application that we are using, that is their product, and their business model is to sell the services. Okay, so what like just to take some examples. So if we talk about TCS, Wipro. So these companies, these are service-based companies because they don't create their own products. Basically, they get the contracts, they work on those contracts, and then they deliver to those clients. But if you talk about product-based companies, so the big names are for sure Google, Facebook, Amazon, but there are enormous product-based companies near you. So there can be very small companies which are product-based companies, and there can be very small companies which are service-based companies. So what is the distinction between these things? So you generally, this is basically a general market trend that I'm telling you. Generally, a product-based company has a completely different culture as if we compare from the service-based companies. So the things that you have heard about, I don't know if you have heard about or about these things or not. So there is time logging, number of hours that you have to complete, and then basically there are client calls, there are like on-site clients. So all these things happen in service-based company. So and the drawback is in the like these I will consider these in the drawbacks because in the product-based companies, and I have majorly worked in like all the three companies that I have worked with, they are the product-based companies, and we generally don't have any time of time logging. I can work for like 4 hours today, and there might be a case that I have to work for 12 hours tomorrow. So these both scenarios can be there, but in the service based companies, generally I have to complete my 8 hours every day. So that is not the scenario in the product based companies. And second most important thing is basically the packages that the service based and product based they offer, they are like there is huge difference between them. So generally TCS, Wipro, all these companies, they hire like freshers for 3.5, maximum 4, and 4 LPA. And if you talk about product based companies, so they start from like somewhere near 5 6, almost double the package. And then when you grow like exponentially in product based companies, but in service based companies your position grows exponentially, but not your actual amount that you are getting. So this is the difference between product based and service based companies. Anyone has any doubt in this thing or any question related to this?
Anybody would like to come up?
So then, the jobs that a software engineer in a service-based company
Mhm.
does, and the job that a software developer in a product-based company does is almost the same, because at the end they are
It
both.
is almost no, it is not almost the same. Why? Here comes the fact that I also wanted to talk about. So in a product-based company, so let's take an example. So if you're working in, like, let's say Amazon, so there will be a tech stack. So what is a tech stack? Tech stack is the technologies that are being used in that company. So let's say Amazon is working in C++ and it uses MySQL as the database backend. So these are the two technologies that Amazon is using. So if you work in Amazon, and till the time you're working on in Amazon, you will be working on these two technologies only, because company is working on that technology. But in service based company, so it depends on the client. So currently you are working on a project that works, like, for which you need C++ and MySQL. Okay, so you ship that project, so you complete it, then you ship it back to the client. It goes into the maintenance phase, and you are out of that project. Now there is some new project that comes after 6 months. So this project needs, let's say, Python as a programming language, and it needs Postgres as the database. So you will be working on these new technologies for the 6 months. So the main difference here is, basically, if you're working in a service base, you will be getting a lot of exposure in terms of different technologies. And in product based companies, you will be restricted to technologies that are used in that company. So that is why majorly, so in product based companies, people switch very frequently, like in 2 3 years they generally switch, so that they are able to learn new things, new technologies, and all those stuff. But yes, in product based companies you get a specialization in that language, but in service based companies you are not able to get that level of specialization that you have in product based companies.
Okay,
And
so
it takes extra effort to get yourself into a product based companies. So interview process is generally a bit tough.
okay,
And another thing is, why it is tough, because they don't bulk hire. So all the service-based company, their work depends on the clients they have. But in a product-based company, so the whole world is their client. So they don't generally like uh, take students in bulk. So they will be taking one or two people, and on the other hand, a service-based company might take 100 people. So that is the ratio basically. That is why they pay you less, because they have more people to work on the same thing. But here you have very less people to work on the same thing. That is why you are paid more. Any other question? Can we move ahead?
Yes, sir. I guess
Okay.
it's it.
So people generally think about what is the skill set that is required for an engineer. So basically, I am someone who has worked in. So initially, I started as an engineer, ASC, associate engineer. Then I moved to engineer. That within that engineering, I was working on a product that required the data skills. So I also learned machine learning and worked on that data field for 3 years now. 3 years at that point of time, 3.5 years. And after that I switched to some different company. So in that company I was working as an engineer, and we were working on custom parsing language. They were It was mix of engineering plus machine learning thing. But soon I realized that I'm not liking that particular field. So data is not my cup of tea. I'm more happy working on the engineering task. That is why I switched myself back to the engineering path. And now I'm working as a senior member of technical staff in Lambda Test. That is basically a cross browser testing platform. And all the things that I am talking about right now. So I generally, this was I also created a YouTube channel. So in that channel, the purpose for creating that channel was to impart this knowledge. So how things happen, like what is happening in the industry, how things work in the industry. So for that only I created that channel, and you can get all these things that we have talked about, the questions that you have in that on that channel. So that is the data sync. So let's see what are the skill sets of an engineer. So first thing, the most important thing is problem solving. And how companies test this thing is by like asking you logical questions, reasoning questions, the puzzles. So all these questions they will ask you in the interview to judge your problem solving skills. So problem solving is basically world is facing some problem and you have to create solution for that problem so that world can be saved, or basically everyone in the world is like benefited from that solution, and you as a company, people will buy your solution and you will be benefited from that. So Instagram, Facebook, Amazon, all these are like at one point in time, these were all a problem for like the complete world, and these companies, they have solved a problem. That is why they are existing in the market. So this is the first thing. Then solution designing, that is something that I was talking about. So how you like, how well you can design a solution, so how well you can come up with the answers to that problem. That means this. Okay, so this is also something that gets tested with the help of puzzles, logical reasoning questions. Okay, and then most of the time when we are in colleges and we are like using like we are studying some courses, so we don't think about the real world scenarios or real world usage of something. So generally we don't go behind why. So if we are learning database, there is a topic indexes in database. Why we need indexes? What is the use of those indexes in the real world? So just to give you an example, so if indexes were not there, the same query that we talked about, that you search something on Amazon, it would have taken minutes to get you the answer that you are getting in seconds if you don't have indexes. So this is the power of indexes. So you have to think the real world scenarios, why something is there, what is the usage of those things in the real world. So those things you have to think about. So that is basically a skill set of engineer, to think about all those things. Then selecting the right tools and languages. So here, when you join, you don't have all these options. So you don't think about like what language I will use to solve this particular problem. So after some time, when you are 2 to 3 years old in the industry, so you get all these basically authority to select all these things. So clearly, if I tell you the distinction, so if you have a project that needs some machine learning thing, so you have to create a machine learning model. So you will not go for C++, because you know that there is not a good support of packages in C++ related to machine learning. But if you need speed and you want to do some low level things on the system, then you will definitely go for C++. So right choice of language. And and we also told that I believe in language agnosticism. So what is this? Basically, you are not binded to a language. So one of the major mistake many people do is, so they confine themselves to a language. So I am a Python developer, so I can only work in Python. I am a Golang developer, so I will only work in Golang. Or I am a C++ developer. So how it like negatively impacts your career? You get specialization in that language, that is for sure. So you will get experience, you will get specialization. But if that like technology is updating very frequently, and if you have not updated yourself, and if, what if that language like there comes a new language which replaces that language, so your entire career will be finished. And as a software developer or engineer, so there is also a fine line between developer and engineer. So I will also explain that part. So as an engineer, you should not be dependent on any language to solve your problem. You should engineer a solution that is independent of the language, and language is just a medium to write your solution. It is nothing more than that. And that language that you choose, that language should be efficient for that solution, and it can be inefficient for some other solution, but you have to select the best language that is efficient for your solution. Okay. And the difference between a developer and engineer. So engineer is a person who like performs all these steps. So he is also thinking about problems, so thinking about solution to those problems, experimenting with the multiple solutions, experimenting with different components, different databases, different languages. So that experimentation and R&D part is there in the engineering part. So you are engineering something. But as a developer, so developer, he is getting a problem with the solution, and he just has to write the code in that particular language. So this is basically that for me. So this is my personal distinction. So that is how I distinguish a developer from engineer. And there can be like, if you are a developer and you consider yourself as a developer, so you will always remain mediocre, and you have to like expand your mindset to like learn more things, be curious about things, and become an engineer, and then like the whole industry will be after you. So that comes under the engineering part. So you are selecting the right tools and languages. Then coding is for sure. So once you basically engineer a solution, you have to code it. And there is like, until unless you are not engineering manager, you will have to write your code, and you will have to write the code for the solution that you have created or provided. So coding is definitely a part, but here I have not basically written that coding in any specific language. So that is why I was like telling you the complete story. So language should not be a barrier for you. So language is just a medium to convey your message to the computer. Every language has some pros and cons. So you will have to select the language that best suits your use case. Okay, then testing. So we talked that QA engineers are responsible for testing, but when you are developing something, the first person to test that code is you yourself. Okay, so you have to do the basic level of testing. Then the QA engineer will he will just like unfold your complete system, and he will just penetrate in your system and do a deep dive of the testing. Okay, all the use cases, negative testing, negative cases. So basically, if we talk about a login module, so you get a username, you get a password, you log in. So this is a simple flow. So a developer will use this flow to test his code, and he will check that if username is not present, if your password is not present, you cannot log in. But a QA engineer, he will try different flows. So QA engineer will try, what if I provide wrong password or wrong username? What if username is not existent? What if the like I am using some old password, or like I want to change the password? So all these scenarios will be taken care by QA. But a developer is like, he is responsible for writing the code and testing the basic flow by themselves. Okay, and then deploying. So in the same way, we have QA, we have DevOps team for complete deployment, but we have to like, we need the knowledge of deploying. Like if I'm writing a code and I need, let's say, MySQL database, so I should be able to like, I should have that knowledge of MySQL database, that how I can scale and deploy that MySQL database. And then deployment team will actually work on deploying that part, but I should have that knowledge that how this will be deployed, so that I can sit with that team and I can tell them that what can be the better approach, and I can participate in those decisions. Okay, and then comes monitoring. So what is monitoring? Basically, you have a website, you have created that website is live. Now you are monitoring that how things are, like how many people are there who are visiting your website, what are the type of purchases that are happening on your website, and all those things, and how many people are not able to perform some action on the website, how many errors are there in the website. So you are monitoring all these things from day-to-day basis. So this is the final step. And then the maintaining is basically, you are adding new feature, you are solving some problem, you are basically solving some error that came on the website or any web application or some backend application. So all these things come under the skill set of an engineer. So any question from this? Anyone? Or any doubt? Someone wants to discuss any of this skill, or anything that I missed?
So at like basic level, engineer should have all of these, but eventually when you specialize, then you categorize as a QA engineer
Yes.
or a develop.
Yes, for sure. So if I also tell you in the monetary terms, so engineer in the product based company, so they will be like, if we talk about the same level of like experience and everything, if there are two people, they pass out from the same college and at after 3 years they are in a company. So that company is a product based company or service based company. So engineer will be paid more than the QA, and it can be equally equivalent to DevOps. Okay, so this is basically the earning graph that we have. So first target should be that we have to hit engineering position in the product based company. And once you like go into that position, like you are not able to make out to that engineering position and you go into the testing position, then you will be specializing in that particular field, and then you will be in the QA team or QA engineer or DevOps engineer. Any other doubt or
Okay,
question?
so
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I wanted to know that, like, mostly we all of us know the basics of Python and like some basic coding language. So, like, I'm talking about myself. So I know basic of Python, but what all things we should do in order to get a good hold into the field, like into Python, so that by the time we pass out we know the at least the minimum required skill in the field.
So but like what all things you know in Python?
Like we've been taught the basics of Python, a list, recursion and functions and all that. So like if I want to excel in this and I want to get a good grip into the field, so how can I enhance that?
Uh, okay, so the basics of Python. So have you used Python to solve any problem? Be it like the problem should be something that is already solved, but have you tried it?
Yeah, we've been given few questions, and I've been attending, like I attended few courses in which they gave us exercises and all. But apart from that, like the knowledge which I had right now is a bit limited, I would say, because it was surrounded by the topics which I covered, and they were quite a bit revolving around those situations only.
Yeah.
But
So that is why like some minutes back I was talking about the same thing. So there can be a case that you know something, but that is not a game changer for you. A game changer is how you have used that particular thing. So you know basics of Python, but what problems have you solved using Python? So like if we talk about the industry use case, so Python is used either in machine learning or in the backend development. So in the backend development, there are frameworks like Flask, Django. These are used heavily in the market. So basically the vanilla Python, so there is no market for the vanilla Python, but you should know something. So there is a framework called as Celery that is used for distributed computing. Okay, so there is a framework called as Flask that is a lightweight application development platform for web applications. Then there is Django, which is basically most widely used framework in the industry. So if you know just like how to you know about Django framework and you have created some projects on Django, you can easily get a job in as a Python developer backend field.
okay,
So
sir, thank you so much.
yeah, so your focus should be on the practical implementation of things, not just learning. So that is why I asked you that your resume should not say that you have done this course. You have created this project, and how you created, because you did this course and you got that knowledge. It should be like that. Okay.
okay. So as you mentioned, you diversified Python into backend and machine learning, and you specified for the backend. Are there any specifications in the machine learning also?
So for machine learning, so machine learning is a field on its own. So it is not specifically related to Python. So for machine learning, you will have to learn the basics, the mathematics of all the models, supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, reinforcement, all these models. So basically there is a clustering algorithm, k-means, naive-based algorithm, and there are n number of algorithms that are there. You have to like read about those algorithms, how they are used, what kind of problems each algorithm is solving, and then you have to implement all those things in Python. And it should, again, like this is something that you will learn, and how you are using these learnings by solving some real life problem, and creating a project that is good enough to showcase in the industry or in the interview.
Okay, so basically in machine learning, we should know the libraries of the Python. Is that would be enough apart from the
No,
mathematical
no, no,
motivation?
no, no. Just knowing the libraries is not enough. Like, no one will ask you to write something in Python if you are giving an interview. So they will be asking you, like, how will we solve some particular problem? And you have to just write that solution. So knowing a library is just an add-on, but it is not everything that is required. So things that are required is your mindset. You have to generate that mindset, that how will this problem will be solved. So you have to, like, there is a problem, you have to first segregate into, like, if this is a classification problem or a clustering problem, or is this something that is related to reinforcement learning. If it is related to basically classification, what kind of problem is that, what kind of data I am having. So then you will dig down that and select that this algorithm will be, I think, will be best. And then you will do a POC with different algorithms that you have selected using Python. So Python is just a medium to implement that machine learning thing. It is nothing more than that. So if there is no library in Python, you might have to write the complete equations and code for that particular model that you want to create. So just knowing library is not enough. It is definitely not enough. So you should basically you should have that mindset. And if we talk just about Python, so you should know the library, you should know how and when to use that library, and in and out of everything that is there.
Okay,
Not just
thank
like
you.
many people do this mistake, they do some course on machine learning, they get to know that, okay, model.fit, model.predict, these are the two statements, and we can create any model. So they just write in the resume like we are machine, we know machine learning. So machine learning is not this thing. You should know that how that particular algorithm actually works, what is the mathematics behind that algorithm.
Okay, so anybody else would like to come up, or we can proceed? I
So
guess
some
we
of
can
some of
proceed.
the problems that you can look into while we talk about machine learning is, you can talk about stock market price prediction algorithm. So basically, you have to just, there is no algorithm like this, but this is a problem. Basically, you have to predict the stock market prices using a machine learning. So how you can do? There are multiple ways. So I worked on one of the project. So how we used so like how we solved this problem. So we used Twitter data and news data to predict the stock market prices. So we generated a correlation between the number of tweets and the prices. So the day when we have more number of tweets for a particular company is directly related to the stock price market movement for some of the stocks, not for all the stocks, but some of the stocks, especially customer facing stocks. And it also has a weightage that who is writing that tweet or that news. So this can be a problem that can be solved, and there are multiple ways to solve this problem. So people use previous stock market data, people use reinforcement learning to train the, basically to learn that pattern that a particular stock follows, and then basically generate a model out of it. So there are multiple ways to that solve that problem. So there is a problem to detect a fake and a real news. So there you can find enormous papers research papers on this particular topic to detect the fake and genuine news. So there are many problems like this. You can basically there is a customer support department in every company. So by reading different mails, you can identify that like you can read the mail, and there are like some strong words or some polite words in the mail, and you can detect that if that customer is happy with the product or not. So there are multiple scenarios. You can detect the emotions from the text, that if this particular, you get a sentence and you can detect that with which emotions that sentence is written. That is called circumplex model of emotions. So there are many things. So there are many problems that you can there are many solutions also, and you can use those solutions in your specific use cases. So you have to try all these things to to say that you are a machine learning engineer or you are a data scientist or analyst. Okay.
Okay, so lastly, I would like to ask you, you earlier mentioned that when you went in the data line, you
Mhm.
thought after doing the task that it is not your cup of tea.
Mhm.
So, what made you think like that? Was it due to technical issues or the
Mhm.
environment, or what made you think like that?
So, if I speak very frankly, so I was not very good. I didn't like reading about reading research papers and digging deep into the basically algorithms and the mathematics behind that. And like up till that point, I was like under the impression that okay, so when I started, I was also my thoughts were also same that I know that these are the libraries and I can go into that field, and I also did. So these are the problems that I talked about. So we did that problem and we created a product out of that actually. And but after some time, so I was not happy doing that. So reading the papers and then digging into the mathematics and everything, so I was not liking that stuff. And also after 3 years when I was trying to switch my job, so they were not very good, like the market was not providing a good hike and good position in terms of work. So that is why I dropped that idea altogether. And I had that realization that my forte is something else, and that led to this decision.
Okay, so basically, due to mathematical reasons and hike reasons, you shifted.
Yeah, so hike, I will say that when you are switching between I started from engineering. From engineering, either you switch very quickly, but like after 3 years, if you have to start from the zero level again, so that was something that was disappointing me. So that's why I changed that decision of going into the data science field and pursue with the engineering only, because my background was not I didn't start from data, so they were not ready to consider that basically I have that experience in the data science field only. So they were basically, when you start from engineering and then you try to move from engineering to data, you have to start from zero again. So any experience that you have in the past, it will not matter. So that's the case if we talk about the industry.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We can proceed.
So let's discuss some things that can help you to stand out of crowd. So if we talk about the current scenarios, so I don't know how many of you are aware of GitHub. So anyone having a GitHub profile and they are constantly uploading their projects on GitHub? No one? So just today, go to GitHub and create a profile. So GitHub is basically a way to showcase your projects to the complete world, and you will be getting to know about, like, there is it is basically a tool that you have to use, and it is basically once you are into the field of software engineering, this is everything. So you will be interacting with this tool every day, every hour. So create a GitHub profile, create your projects and put all your projects in your GitHub profile. So the stronger your GitHub profile, the stronger you have chances to crack an interview. And then you should be and we connected on LinkedIn, and so there are many opportunities that you open for yourself once you have an active profile on LinkedIn. You connect with like-minded people, you connect with people you don't know or know from the industry that you wish to pursue. So someone told that they want to go into the game development field. So you will not meet people roaming on the streets who are working as game developers, but on LinkedIn you will get such people. You can connect to those people. You can solve all your, like, you have many queries, so you can ask your queries to them, and they might be posting their day-to-day learnings on LinkedIn. So just like all these things can help you to grow in your career, and You can also ask help for referrals and openings in different companies, and all these can be all these can be done using LinkedIn. So you should, this is my sole advice, that these two things are very critical and very important. And if you start building it today, it will take some time for you to achieve something, but yes, it will be definitely worth it. And focus more on real life projects. So from the very starting, I'm focusing and emphasizing on these things. So real life project is something, so we generally create as a projects as a student, and when we are asked to create projects, so we create something out of imagination or something that is already existent. We create basically a shopping cart or things like that which are already existing. So think out of the box, think about some real life scenarios which you can solve using your skills. So once you have this thing, and if that project is solid, it can land you up in a very good company and very good job. Okay. And once you are graduated, you are looking out for a job, keep looking at all of the websites, naukri.com and Times Job. There are n number of websites. What you can do is, even if you're not applying for a job, just go and look out for the profile that you want to go in. So if you want to go in the security domain as ethical hacker, so just search for that profile and see what is the job description, so what they are asking for, and prepare for that particular thing. So that is basically a bottom up approach, sorry, a top down approach. So you get a job description, and now you are preparing for the jobs like that using that description. So that will help you to narrow down your scope of things that you have to focus more on. So it will really help you a lot. And then internships. So whenever you get time, don't sit idle. Just go and ask people. So you can, even if you have to work for free and you have to work from home, so it is completely fine, but the experience should be good. So it should not be the case that you are doing an internship and you're learning from that internship is zero. It should not be a case. Do good internships, even if it is for free, but it will definitely add something to your resume, and it can land you up in a good job. Okay. Mock interviews. So once you are preparing for jobs and or any kind of job, or basically interviews for your higher educations, so mock interviews is it is a really helpful tool. It will help you to basically gain confidence when you are sitting in an actual interview. So you friends can take interviews of one another, and you can it should be a proper interview like scenario. You should be dressed like that, and there should be no basically fun. It should be a proper interview. It should not be a fun activity. Basically, you can grill the other person. You can ask different questions. It will help you to prepare well for the worst things. So, a very basic question. So, if I ask you, tell me something about yourself. So, this question, so there is no definite way to answer this question, but you have to create your own way to answer this particular question. And what can help you to answer this question in a beautiful way is mock interviews. So when you tell people about if I'm taking your interview and you tell me something, and then I find out some mistakes in that, I will write it down and I will tell you all those things in the end of the interview. So it will help you to improve and then come back again. Okay, come back again and come back stronger. So these are some of the things. And soft skill. So basically soft skill is basically your communication, how you are interacting, your body language, all those things. So these are very important. So many people they have hesitation in speaking English, and many people they are hesitant in even expressing their thoughts if language is no barrier for them. So you have to be open. You have to improve your soft skills. How you can improve? You can just go out and speak as much as you can, interact with as many people as you can. And even for internships, it is not the case that you will just apply for internship, you will get one in same day. You might have to apply in hundreds of companies, and then you are getting the offers. So don't get demotivated. Just stay motivated and keep on trying. Never stop. So this is something I will say. And when we were talking about preparation for off campus, So do you have any questions from this thing?
Yes, Hamza, you can go on.
Yeah, good evening. So actually, I had a doubt regarding basically the data field. Like for example, we learn packages like pandas, matplotlib, numpy,
Mhm.
etc. But the problem is we can't really find good real life projects like which are industry relevant
you
in that
you
aspect.
will never find a real life. So if I'm a developer, I know things and I have created a project, so you cannot find real life project. You have to find a problem. You are searching out for wrong things. You find a real life problem and then you use your skills to solve that problem. That will create a real life project. So search for problems and try to develop that mindset that how you can solve that problem. You will, like, if you are able to find a real life project, so that is already solved. You are adding like nothing new to that particular field.
So like yeah, in the sense of problems itself, like for example, we are more interested in the financial field. So how can I solve that particular problem in such a way that it's more relevant or to the
So
employer.
so basically the problem that I talked about. So I initially worked in a company that was in the financial domain only, and we wanted to predict the stock market prices. So that was the problem. So we tried to do it with there are traditional data sources, and then there are non-traditional data sources. So traditional data sources are like stock market data that you have, prices that you have, all those things, financials and all those stuff. So you are trying to get predictions from that data. And secondly is non-traditional data sources, that is from the Twitter data, news data, or Reddit's and Facebook posts, Instagram posts. So this is non-traditional data. So we tried to map the prices to this non-traditional data, and we got some level of basically success in that particular thing. So that is basically something related to finance. So if you don't know, like if you cannot think about a problem, so it is very difficult to stand out from the crowd. You have, like, if you are interested in the finance thing, so you must have, yeah, so you should think about, or you should look out from the problems that others are facing or you are facing while doing some kind of financial analysis, and how that can be altered in a way that can lead to good results.
Okay, so got it. Like we shouldn't only stick to mainly like for example CSV files. Maybe we can do something more different.
It can be anything. So you have, that is what a out of box thinker is. Though basically you have to think about you have to think about solving a problem in a different way, because traditionally everyone is doing. So that will be never that never will be adding anything to your skill set or your profile or your resume. So you have to think in some different manner that can lead to, that might lead to. So there can be case that the solution that you thought is a complete failure, but that's okay. There is no nothing to be sad about. You tried it. So if you reached somewhere, and then you in an interview you tell people that you reached to this solution, but you tried all these things, how impressive your interview will be. Just think about that.
Okay, so got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, Ankush, you can go on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ankush, your voice isn't audible. You can write in the chat box. Please, can you mute your
Yep.
Ankush? Are you able to listen? Please mute your mic. Kindly write in the chat box what you are trying to ask. Your voice isn't that much audible.
So we can take up that question.
Yes,
Once
sir.
you
We
get
can
that.
definitely proceed.
So I will just briefly explain you that how you can prepare for like all these things that we talked about. So we should not only be dependent on the campus. So this was one mistake that I did. I was only dependent on the campus. But nowadays I see people, they are getting very good jobs when they are going off campus also, and if they have those skills. So as an engineer, so someone asked me also that what is the importance. So you should like DSA, if you want to crack a product based company, it is a must to have skill. So for like for preparation purposes, you can go Geeks for Geeks. You can try Lead Code, and like you can just you have to try one problem at a time. Just keep on solving those problems, keep on repeating those problems, because it is something that you cannot be very sure, like even if you do it for once. So you have to do it several times, and then only you will be very sure about how this particular question will solve, or if you get a variation of that particular question, how it will be solved. Okay, so data structures and algorithms, it is a very important part if you want to crack any product based companies. Okay, it is very important. You even have 3 to 4 rounds of DSA in some companies. In Amazon, you have 3 rounds of pure DSA. In Google, you have 3 to 4 rounds of pure DSA. I've given interviews in both Google and Amazon, so that is why I'm sharing my experience with you. Get hold of a programming language. So I was talking about language agnostic, but here when you are a fresher, so for writing DSA code and for writing the code in the interviews, you should at least know one language in which you are very confident that you will be able to write your code without any help or without looking the internet. So there should be one programming language that you should select for your interview purposes. Okay, and you should have good hold of that programming language. And basically, networking is something that we generally we tend to ignore that part, but networking is very important. So one of the like very basic question that does not have any like right answer. So basically, many interviews ask this. So if I type on a browser, I type www.google.com. So how I am getting the results? So you have to explain the complete flow, that how that request or HTTP packets converted into request, went to DNS server, then how DNS server went to the actual servers and how it returned, and what are the different layers of basically networking that are involved in this thing. So you should know all these things. So basics should be very strong. Okay. Then, like I have already told you, solve questions on platform like Geek for Geek and Lead Code. So it is also very important. So it will help you to prepare for DSA very well. So the questions are really good. People are preparing from these things only. And if you have any other website also, it is also a good. But like these two are my personal choices. And prepare some good projects. That is something I'm focusing on from the very first minute. So good projects and real life projects, and if you have created something that is actually solving a problem which no one has thought about right now, so it will definitely give you an upper edge. Ask for referrals on LinkedIn. So for off campus, you will not get to know until unless you are very active on job portals and LinkedIn, and then you can ask people on LinkedIn. You can connect with them, and you can ask them to refer you to that particular company. So this is something you can do. And when you have an interview scheduled, so what you can do is, so let's say you are coming in a company, you are coming in Lambda Test. So Lambda Test is currently my company. So you are coming in that company, and I am working in that company, and I am your LinkedIn connection, or let's say I'm not your LinkedIn connection. So you can ask people about like what is their interview experience, what is the culture of the company, what it is like to work at Lambda Test, what are the day-to-day jobs, day-to-day job profiles, or day-to-day job tasks that you will have to do. So this will help you to prepare well for the questions that will be asked to you in the interview. So this will help you a lot. So these are some of the things that you can definitely do for off-campus preparation. and showcase your projects. Like, this is something that I have already discussed, that a strong GitHub profile and an active LinkedIn profile will help you a lot in the long run. And definitely you can watch all the experience videos. So like, I post all the experience videos for the interviews that I have faced on YouTube. So there are n number of people who are posting their experience videos. You can definitely check those videos out, and you will be able to know that what will be the questions that will be asked to you in that particular interview, and you can prepare well for those interviews. And you can also read blogs on, like, people also write blogs on all these things, and you can ask them on LinkedIn. And if you get a blog, it is also good to read that blog or watch a video on YouTube. So that is basically efficient use of the technology that we have. We generally don't use it to our benefit. We generally watch it, like we watch songs, and we like watch vlogs and all those things. Those things are helping people who are creating those vlogs, and not you. You are just wasting your time by watching all those things, if you're not wisely utilizing your time. Will just start and you will keep on watching all those things. So it is good that you use all these things, all these platforms, social media, to your benefit, and basically crack good companies from these things. So that is something I will say that you need for campus, off campus preparation, or any job preparation, in general. And in Geek for Geek, you can also specifically search for interview questions for some companies. You can write interview questions for Amazon. You will get a number of questions for Amazon. You can also try to read the interview experiences. You can also go to Glassdoor, or basically Ambition Box. So these are some of the websites that you can go and you can check them out. So any questions regarding this preparation, or basically anything, basically, not just preparation.
Okay, so sir, would you like to add any specifics to how practice mock interviews with our peer, and how to, implement this thing with the peers?
So I will just tell you about my experience. So when I was in MCA, and like we were about to have the companies for like placements. So what we did was, so we created a group. So every week there were like a person has to prepare, so for a particular topic. So let's say Java was one of our subjects. So a person used to prepare for Java, and like other, so we were a group of friends. So if one person is preparing for the interview of Java, so we like the remaining people, so we were responsible for grilling that person to a point that, like, the other person literally cries for that. So we used to ask questions. So we used to search for interview questions, and we used to prepare our own questions from the books that we have, and then ask for the concepts. So concept is something that people fail to answer. So you can answer the theoretical question, but you will fail to answer the conceptual questions. So we asked concepts, like in a way that, like in a very serious way, not a fun way. So we used to sit in a room, and then we interviewed single person, and all, so the questions that five people searched are getting asked from single person. So definitely, like, it automatically improves your confidence if you are able to answer those questions. So it will boost up your confidence and prepare you well. It will help you improve your soft skills and how you have to answer different questions. Hope it answers your question.
Yes, sir. It was actually the question of Ankush. He
Okay.
was trying to ask earlier.
Okay.
I hope he gets his answer.
Cool. Any other question?
Anybody would like to come up, or should
I
we proceed?
have just this thing from the slides. I think I took a lot of time. Hope it was not boring.
No, no, sir. It was very insightful.
Yeah. So any other question?
Anybody can ask anything about the whole duration of the webinar.
Yeah. Or anything that you any question that you have in your mind specifically.
Okay, so in the beginning, Ritika asked about how should we how should a resume, how, like, उसको कैसा होना चाहिए to clear a FANG internship?
Creator.
FANG internship. She has also written in the chat box.
Okay. So if you want to crack a FANG internship, so it is not just about the resume. So it is about the DSA and the skills that you have. So in the FANG, so interview is like resume matters, but it is not something that will help you to get an internship. So you can think like, so there are different programs that different companies open up for internship, and you have to be aware of all those programs. So at our time, so I was not aware of any such thing, but yeah, I now I read many posts on LinkedIn and I'm aware of these things. So there are many, so Amazon, Google, all these companies, they have some programs related to internships. So you can apply on those programs, you will be interviewed, and then you can like join those companies and as interns. So that is the way to go ahead. And there is nothing specific that you can write in your resume that can help you to get a good job in or internship in FAN. But yes, definitely it should not be like your resume should be acceptable and good enough.
Okay. So anybody else would like to come up? Okay, Hamza.
So as a mathematical science student, like our forte is basically becoming an analyst or a data scientist. So, sir, how can we, like if you can tell us about the skills that we require mainly as a data scientist to crack an internship or, um, improve our portfolio basically.
So basically, first of all, as a mathematical science student, I am also a mathematical science student. Our forte is not just a data scientist or analyst. It has shifted this way because the field is booming. That is the only reason. It is not the only thing, but yes, definitely, if you want to go into that particular field, so I have already discussed like what are the steps that you can take. You should focus more on the implementation of the algorithms, mathematics behind those algorithms, basics of machine learning, and then you should focus more on the real projects or real problems that you have solved, not just the courses, but the actual problems. Answers your question?
Yes, sir. So, and like, what can we highlight in a profile so that we can stand above? It's basically in the data field.
Projects. It is the only thing that will help you stand apart.
Okay, so not only like
So,
capstone projects.
there was one student who was like working under me as an intern. He was from AIT Pune. So he built a project. So he was a CS student. So he built a project. So basically, the project was, so there were spectacles or specs that a blind person can wear, and basically there were two sticks that were on both the sides. So if there is any obstacle on any side of like any side of the person, so that stick will just blink, and it will help that person to know that there is some obstacle on the right or left side, so that the person is aware of that particular thing. And this project was viral on the LinkedIn and GitHub. And like when he was interviewed in my company for that internship, so we didn't even think for the second time to like hire that person as an intern.
Fine. Thank you, sir. Now
I see some of the questions are there in the chat box as well. After
Yes,
BSc,
sir.
whether it's good to go for post graduation or a job. So both are good options. So if you are going for a job, job should not be something that for which like you are doing some compromise. So you should not compromise on the like until unless it is required. Like it also depends on like what is the financial status, or like if you are in need, or you want to support your family, then you should definitely go out for a job or a part-time job with education. But yes, you can also, so if that's the case, you can also do many things when you are in college. If you want to support your family, you can take basically tuition classes. You can create, you can freelance on different things. You can freelance on graphic designing or basically website creation or different things. So this way you can also earn while you are in your college, or in while you are like undergraduate and doing your BSc. And after BSc, so they like companies tend to exploit IT professionals by BPO profiles and calling processes or night support jobs. So you should avoid, I will say that you should avoid those jobs, because once you move to those jobs, it is very difficult to come out. And if you see that there are not, like, if you are not getting good opportunities because of a masters, then you should definitely go for post graduation. And it can be in your forte. You can either do MCA, MSc in computer science, MSc in operations research, or MBA. So it is totally up to your choice. And I hope this answers your question. And the other is, which coding language is in demand these days in the corporate world? So in currently, if I talk about, so Java is a language that is forever, basically the trend is decreasing, but it is widely used. And if we talk about booming languages, so it is Golang, Golang, Golang. It is developed by Google. It is a recent language. And Python is also used in many places. Which are the product-based companies where BSc graduates can apply for SDE, since good companies like Amazon, Microsoft Degree? Yes, so so good companies and big companies, they have a preference for BTech profiles. And one of the reason for opting for MSc is, after BSc, if you do MCA, then it is equivalent to BTech CS. So that is why if you do MCS, then you open gates for all those companies. But as a BSc, I'm not sure that which companies, which product-based companies are offering internships or even jobs. But yes, you can definitely go to their job portals, and you will definitely get to know people from the LinkedIn also about these companies. Yeah, you can gather this data from LinkedIn and Naukri and job portals. What skills do one need to become a DBA? Where do we start after doing MCA? So after DBA, for DBA, you should be very good in databases, in and out of databases. So the things that I was talking about, what are the database engines, what how we can optimize those engines, what are the query optimization techniques, what are indexes, what is a horizontal scaling, what is charting, and what is scaling, all these things. So these are related to databases. So you should know in and out of databases. You can also do some specialization courses that are offered by Oracle and SQL. So all those things you can also do to to prove your specialization in that particular area. And once you do that, so after MCA, you start as a software engineer. If not DBA, you start as a software engineer with you work with some DBA, and then you gradually move up the ladder and become a database admin. But definitely for a fresher, no one will employ you as DBA, because as a fresher, when you go, if we talk about campus placements, you don't have choice. But if you want to go into specific field, you will have to go off campus, and you have to find companies on your own, and then you have to apply and give interviews on your own. So for campus, you don't have any choice. Actually, that's the sad part. Do companies still have degree preference over skills? Yes, definitely. Companies still have degree preferences over skills. So basically, why? Because many companies that you will if you just don't talk about degree or skill preference, companies have preferences for colleges, in fact. So some companies will directly write in their job descriptions that they want people from IITs or NITs only. So there is definitely so that trend is specifically in India. The trend is still there. People go for degrees, and there are very few companies who will basically don't give preference to degrees and give preference to skills and projects. But definitely, to get a good company, and if there is any good company, if you have a degree, then they will go for first your skills, and on the basis of your skills, you will be selected or rejected. But yes, you should have that degree. And if the profile mentions that BTech, then like either you should be BTech or BSc plus MCA.
Okay, so as you mentioned before, like Java is like an evergreen language, and you named one more that Google
Golang.
launched. Apart from that, Python is also emerging. And what are your thoughts about the R language?
R language is specifically used for data science, so it is not a programming language. It is a statistic. If you check the description, so R is specifically a statistical tool. People don't even consider it as a language. So I don't know how many of you have like read about actuarial science. So actuarial science is basically a domain that which basically specializes in your insurances domain. So in that domain, R is the only language that they have to study in their very initial exams. So R is basically a language that is used more for statistics and data science. But even for data science in industry and specifically IT field, so mostly people prefer Python and then R.
Okay, so anybody else would like to come up with any question? I guess this is it.
So
Okay, so first of all, thank you, sir, for your great words of wisdom. There were many words that were very insightful for us. That will be, very useful in our procedure, and while we were pursuing any sort of career, it will be very useful for us. So we really want to appreciate you taking time for us for your from your busy schedule. Your guidance, your knowledge, your experience has been very useful. It is always a pleasure to have you with, sir, and especially because you are from mathematical sciences. I don't really remember our college bringing an alumni from this course, and that is why I'm very much more privileged to have you, and we are very grateful to have you, sir.
thank you for these words. And I'm always I prefer like talking to students and helping them out to like the best possible way I can. So if you have any further doubt that is not solved yet, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I will be happy to like I might be slow, so and we know this, so I might be slow in responding because of the different commitments. But yeah, definitely, basically, I will reply to your messages. And it might be slow, but yes, you will get the answer.
No issue, sir. The main motive is to get the answers. Okay, so we want to thank our participants also for joining and making this webinar so interactive. So many people asked so many insightful questions, and this couldn't go this far without you all. And we are really to have this successful webinar. So okay, so we can see you in the next session.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you, sir.
Allow me to drop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.